EAA Girsan Witness 2311 match, 5-inch bull barrel, full-length dust cover with steel there, of course polymer below, red dot ready. This, on the tabletop, feels like a vast improvement over the very early Witness 2311 I reviewed a while back. Coming up next, you'll see my absolute first shots through the gun, full magazine plus one. I'll check it out with some other mags. It does include Checkmate magazines. We'll take it to the what's for dinner table, see what the gun eats, the spinner for sights and trigger control, 5 shots from 7 yards for practical accuracy, and then concluding thoughts. All coming up next on beautiful January morning with all the sun glare in the world because Pacific Northwest. It's also trying to rain on me. We're about 17 or so yards away from a little A-zone piece of steel, thanks to Thor targets. Time for my absolute first shots through the Witness 2311 match from EAA and Girsan. I've got 8 rounds of MagTech 115 grain. Now, as you may recall, the early Witness Compact that I reviewed was not the smoothest action type and needed some hotter ammo to help push through and kind of break the gun in. I did bring some just in case, but let's start with this MagTech. Man, this thing is nose heavy. Pretty smooth. That is really easy shooting. Hopefully you guys are seeing on your end how much nose movement there is, but to me, it felt pretty darn flat. In fact, the only thing that was really holding me from being able to shoot quicker is that I've got a white dot front sight and I'm shooting at a white target with massive sun glare coming in my face. So, had it been a fiber optic or something like that, maybe we'd have a different story. Now we're on to full magazine plus one. I've got the 20 rounder that is included with this gun. Same MagTech ammunition. 21 rounds on tap. Let's see if I can make this not boring, but still hit the steel. Most of the time. A little bit of smoke in the face made it hard to see, but man, that's pretty comfy shooting. The trigger thus far, little heavier than one might expect, but definitely predictable. But let's over to the what's for dinner table and see what the gun eats. I almost forgot, sorry about that. Testing other magazines. This is the classic 2011-ish double stack 1911 don't hate me staccato magazine pattern, and so there are other makers out there. The gun comes with 2 Checkmates. Checkmates tend to be pretty good mags. I'm a fan of the Duramags. I have a pile of those that I'd like to use in what's for dinner, so before doing that I want to make sure the gun runs in it. This mag has 3 rounds of who knows what old 9mm. Let's see if the gun will run and lock open on empty. If so, we'll include it in what's for dinner. If there's an issue during what's for dinner using a magazine other than what the gun came with, we'll of course swap back to the other one. I'm just going to dump this in the berm. Might have just had hammer follow there. Huh. Looks like it might have short stroked and not actually armed the trigger. Let me grab some more ammo. All right, more of that same ammunition, and I gotta admit, it is old ammo that's been in these mags for a while. I had forgotten they were in there, so maybe it's the ammo, but also in a Duramag. Let's see, I could have had bad form. I could have caused a short stroke by limp wristing or whatnot. I am a novice shooter. Let's see what happens. Okay, so it was probably just bad ammo. That ran pretty smooth, and from what I could tell, it was a very nice ejection brass pattern. Before people let you believe too much that tuning of a firearm impacts your ejection pattern, ammunition is a major factor in that. Ejection of a casing from a semi-auto handgun is a function purely of slide velocity. It's pulling the casing back, hitting a fixed ejector. How fast it hits that ejector, the mass of the casing itself, things like that determines the pattern and direction you're going to see. There can be some tuning done to an ejector, tweaking the angle a little bit, but mostly it's the ammunition. If you don't believe me, take 2 very different loads of the same caliber and run them through your gun and watch the direction the brass flies. It will be different. Trust me, I've done What's for Dinner for 9 years now. Speaking of, let's get to that. And it's What's for Dinner time. As I roll past these, you'll notice that we've got a whole bunch of different projectile weights, shapes, overall lengths, ogives, case materials, etc. Today we're going from 50 grain all the way up to 165 grain. The purpose of What's for Dinner is to see what the gun will eat. Will it feed from slide lock? Will the energy of the round cycle and feed another round of the same type? And will it lock open on empty? 3 rounds is enough to test that. Testing more than that is testing the magazine's ability to run the ammunition. If you'd like to try that or try any of this ammunition yourself, check the pinned comment. I will list sources where I can find them. What's for Dinner is shot at 2-inch circles from about 7 yards. It's not necessarily a marksmanship accuracy test, as it is a function test of the gun. And sometimes it can be interesting to see if we have point of impact changes. First load is our 50 grain Liberty Ammunition Civil Defense plus P. Did notice in the manual, on one page it said anything that's semi-spec is fine. On another page it warned, of course, that a steady diet of plus P is bad for the gun. With a 5-inch barrel, already being longer than semi-spec for 9mm, there's no need for plus P. This is just fun ammo to shoot. All right, circle number 1. It can be loud too. Oh yeah. No issues. Now we have the Novex 65 grainer plus P, Novex Trainer. This is one of those polymer composite projectile doohickeys. Oh, that's loud. That's got some bass to it. Next up is something new to the channel, Specialty Cartridge Elite Defense, 115 grain. Hadn't heard of these guys before. Started talking with them. They offered to send a box, so thank you to Specialty Cartridge. See how it runs in the Witness 2311 match on circle 3. Stouter recoil than the other two. There is a smelling note, but I can't think of it. But it does smell a little bit different. Hornady American Gunner, the Hag, 115 grain for circle 4. I'm sure Hornady loves it that I call it the Hag. This is softer for sure. Sig Elite Defense V-Crown, 115 grain for circle 5. More recoil. Interesting how it seems that 3rd round watch in this, and sorry about the background noise guys, it's a range. The 3rd piece of brass seems to always kind of dribble out. Circle 6, Federal Premium HST. This is the law enforcement stuff with a sealed primer. That ran nicely, and last case, kind of dribbling there. Interesting. The trigger's getting finer on this. It's definitely breaking in. Federal Premium PCC 130 grain. Now this stuff is meant for the longer barrel. I've explained in previous videos, but basically 9mm usually tops out around 10 to 12 inches of barrel length before it starts to actually slow down because the friction in the barrel is greater than the amount of force there is to push it out. This stuff's loaded for long barrels, not for handguns, but I run it anyways in What's for Dinner. Because it has that nice soft push. Interesting that again, that 3rd round, the last round, just kind of sat there. I'm sure one of the 1911 gurus in the comment section is already telling us exactly what's going on, so check the comment section. If you do know or you have theories, let us know, but also let us know if you actually know or if it's a theory, because there's a lot of lore out there. Circle 8 is Hornady Critical Duty 135 grain. Actually feels pretty soft in this gun. That round made it all the way out. Top off. That Critical Duty smells a little cinnamony. It's too bad it's early January. That would have been a great Christmas ammo to shoot. But, you know. Circle 9 is the Fiocchi, what do they call this? Dynamic Defense Dynamics, 147 grain. It's a budget hollow point. Very soft. Very, very soft shooting. And Circle 10 is the AmmoLink Stolth 165 grain, subsonic, obviously. Didn't get slide lock on the Stolth, but considering that's meant for running on suppressors anyways, I'm not too worried about it. Otherwise, the gun ran pretty well. Curious, really am curious. I know you guys are watching this after it's already edited and everything, and I've got to wait like a month before you guys see this stuff. But what's going on with that last round dribble action? Now we'll head over to the spinner for sights and trigger control. We are back about 13 yards from the 6-inch spinner target. Use this target for sights and trigger control because it's a small targeted distance. As I hit it, it starts to move. The better I hit it, the faster it moves, and the more important and difficult timing a well-placed shot becomes, which all comes down to sights and trigger control. I've got 8 rounds of that same Magtech 115 grain. This 5-inch barrel should give us extra muzzle energy, so we should get good swings. Let's see. Easy. As you saw, that was a piece of cake. We've got a 1911 style trigger. The sights, I love black dot rear. I'm not a fan of the white dot front. I would have preferred fiber optic or something like that, but that's personal preference. And of course, this is optics ready, so those of you with impaired vision or newer shooters can attach a red dot. One thing that made this extra easy, of course, is that full-length guide rail, or full-length dust cover and rail being made out of steel kept the nose down on the gun, and the gun was just ready super quickly. So far, because I'm sure some of you are wondering how this compares to something of a higher end, like say a Bull Armory or something like that, that costs significantly more. You can feel the difference. This is certainly not on par with those, but it does get you pretty darn close for a very affordable amount and gets you into pretty good platform. I don't want to go too much into my final thoughts because I haven't done the practical accuracy yet, but we'll do that and then after shots. Practical accuracy is named so because it's accuracy that's practical. Got 5 rounds of standard ball ammunition, shooting freestanding from at 7 yards on a 1-inch square. That square tends to be at this distance about the same breadth of a front sight post, so it makes for an excellent practice for grouping. You basically make the square go away. This is somewhat a test of my own ability, a test of my ability to control the gun, but it's also where I wrap up my thoughts. It's just a lot of people ask to see these groups, so I do it. I guess there's not enough people shooting paper. Here we go. Same Magtech 115. Not bad. Oh, there's that last piece of brass again. Interesting. Pretty good, but it does explain why in What's for Dinner we had impacts being a little bit off. The good news is the rear sight is adjustable. Looks like it should probably be adjusted, at least for my hold. After shots for the Witness 2311 match, this is a nice gun. It's a nicer gun than the price tag would lead you to believe. As I kind of alluded to earlier, is it a replacement for a $2,000 gun? No. Does it get you most of the way there and let you get your feet wet and decide what you want? Does it give you a platform to work on, a platform to experiment and get to enjoy this type of shooting? Yes, absolutely. Shot really well. I didn't have any issues other than early on with a different mag, and old ammo that had been in that mag for a long time. I suspect what happened there was maybe that was, and it was old, cheap ammo. I suspect that might have been a bad round. I don't think it was the gun's fault. I'm not entirely sure what's going on with that last round, still dribbling in the, staying in and not being fully ejected. There might be an ejector issue, but at the same time, when I run quickly or for all the other rounds, stuff's getting ejected just fine. I'm sure one of our 1911 experts or keyboard warriors has given full commentary as to what they think is going on. I don't see it as a problem. Even in competition, if that was to happen, you're running around moving so much, the empty brass would fall out. And when you get slide lock, you're changing mags anyways, so there's a big old tunnel for that brass to fall out. So I don't think it's necessarily a problem. I was curious to see if all of this nose weight would be too much nose weight, if there is such a thing. I myself have been guilty of it. In fact, I still need to retune that Ultimate Echelon build that I did. I went with a little too much force, and it was causing maybe a little more nose dip than I needed. But all of that's going to come down to you as a shooter, what your habits are, things like that. If you tend to heal a gun, which I sometimes do, even with as many rounds as I've fired and as much training as I've had, sometimes I heal. That's an anticipation of recoil habit. That extra weight's going to help fight that. If you have softer wrists or not the most supported grip, that extra weight will help fight that. So, while I haven't seen any performance issues at all, I think this is a great chance for someone to get into a platform like this and start to enjoy the double stack 1911 with a little bit of assist from the gun. And really, that's what all the fancy features and fine tuning is. It helps you shoot better. Most firearms are mechanically more accurate than we are as humans. Most firearms are plenty reliable so long as they're treated right and given the conditions that they need to operate in. When you spend big bucks on something with a super fine trigger or a super smooth action, yes, it helps the competitors shoot a little bit faster, but it's not like they're... Point being, fancy guns are an assist to the skills that you already have. This gets you into that world at a much lower price than a lot of the competition. Feels pretty good. The traction on the grips was great. I did notice in the tabletop a little bit of play between the left and right side of the ambi safety, but since everyone that I've met only has one thumb, I don't think that's an issue. If you're only using the left-handed side, you're not going to feel it. If you're only using the right-hand side, you're not going to feel it. Could it be indicative of not the finest of tuning of an ambi safety? Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure that's what a lot of gunsmiths would say and a lot of high-level 1911 guys. But I, as a practical person, if it's not broken, it's not bothering me, and the thing still runs. Thank you to EAA and Girsan for making this possible for us, sending this out here, and thank you guys for watching. We'll see you in the next video.
Thank you to our Patreon.